Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 97. Wow, 97. This is we're going to 100. March the 7th is my 100th episode. So today, what I thought I would do is I would talk to you, that entrepreneur that tends to always come to me with questions around productivity. So I've picked out sort of three of my issues that seem to be reoccurring over and over and over again with the clients that I deal with. So, but before I do, let me just sort of acknowledge you for being here and for watching this episode. You know, I started to record these because I wanted to share with you, the greater audience out there, some of the wisdom, some of the knowledge that I have gained in the last, well, almost 19 years now, business coaching people just like you. You know, I've been a top sales professional. I've owned my own businesses. I have a very successful, solid six-figure business. I live in an amazing place. You know, I have clients that pay me anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 a year to work with them. So I know a little bit about what it takes to be successful in business. So I want to share that with you so that you too can have the kind of success that you want. And let's face it, success is different for each and every one of us. For some, it's about lifestyle. For some of it's about, really, financial success. Really, I always say that success is really just, financial success is really just tickets to go on rides. And what rides do you want to go on? What are those things that are important to you? Those values, those things that really are important to you, not to somebody else, not out to the world out there. It's not about stuff. It's really about you living that life that's fulfilled, that life that you are called to do. The work you are made to do in the world is what I want to help you do. So watch till the very end. This will be a short episode today just to give you some good tips and strategies. Please be on live for my 100th episode. I'm going to be giving away some great stuff on there, some opportunities to be able to work with me at no cost. So I want to be able to share that with you. And I'm going to have some of my VIP panelists who've been on in the past be with me as well. Next week, I'm going to have an expert interview, and I might even have my 99th episode be an expert interview. And then the last one, we'll be dealing with the best pieces of what we've covered over the last 100 episodes and the feedback we've got from, the loyal fan viewers just like you. And hey, make sure that if you like this material, share it with people that you know who are struggling in business, who maybe you're trying to either break into the six figures or maybe break through six figures into seven figures. I guarantee you the problems aren't much different. I'm always surprised. I used to think that the people who were trying to go from, a solid six-figure business to a seven-figure business had different issues than the people in the early, in their earlier stages in their business and maybe just trying to break through into six figures. But I guarantee you they have money issues just like people who are starting in the business. Theirs maybe is that maybe they've overextended themselves. Maybe they have too much infrastructure based on what their sales volume is. There's really a lot of very similarities in it. So these tips and strategies can be for anybody no matter where they are in their business. So today I wanted to talk about productivity because productivity tends to be one of the reoccurring themes over and over and over again. And there's really three things I want to share with you today. So it's pretty simple, three tips, and I want to share those with you today. So get your pens, grab a pen, take some notes here today. So the first one is I get a lot of people telling me that they get so many emails. And what we really do when we actually look at it, often the reason they get so many emails is because they really haven't adopted an email protocol with their clients, with their friends and family, whomever you tend to be getting the volume with. And so I want to share with you today an email protocol that I've taken from a number of books that I've studied on time management and productivity and email protocol and all of that, and kind of distilled it into three pieces, a theme of three today. So when it comes to email protocol, what I really want you to do is do a little bit of a diagnostic and take a look at what's the nature of the emails that you get. Now, I noticed this past week for myself, I was attempting to reschedule a client of mine through their executive assistant, and because I've not set her up on this email protocol, I noticed that we had about 6 or 7 emails back and forth, which were really just clarifying emails. So that was very frustrating because really we probably didn't need to have that many emails back and forth. It didn't need to be that distracting for either of us. And we could have really nailed down the dates much easier if we had followed a bit of this email protocol I want to talk about. So the first thing is you want to make sure that your email is really clear. You know, unfortunately, so many of us now are sending email from our phones, and so they're short and sweet. But the problem is sometimes they can be too cryptic. So what we want to do is make sure that when we're writing our email, that in the body of the email, that we're actually really clear, and that we're dealing with just one topic per email. It's far too challenging to deal with 5 different things in an email. So separate them out. So one email or one subject per email. So ask yourself when you write your email, am I really clear? Is this clear? Are they going to understand what I mean by this? Do I need to give further explanation on this? So if the answer is that yes, you are clear, then the next thing is your subject line should reflect what the email is. So in other words, if this is an email thread and the topic is changed, change the subject line, because it'll be much more efficient for everyone to go and find that email if you need to, if the subject line has changed to be the appropriate topic that it is. So first of all, you want to be clear in the content of your email. Make sure it's clear, dealing with one issue per email. Then you're going to make sure that your subject line actually reflects what the topic of that email is. Now, here's what I also like to adopt. And this, again, it's entirely up to you, but I find that it makes a big difference. So if I am sending an email to someone and I actually need them to do something other than just respond to me, but take an action, either do some research, complete a document, do whatever it is, then I'm going to put in bold at the beginning of it, action requested. So they know that from their time management standpoint that they're going to actually have to set aside some time to actually take an action, to complete doing something. So I'm helping them plan their day or their week in terms of being able to get back to me, because they know now they have to take an action. They obviously have to look to see what kind of timeline it's going to take, but at least they know it's an action. And then once you've established this protocol with that particular client, then you could just do AR ... and then what the subject line is. So it could be action requested ... complete initial questionnaire, for example. So then that person's really clear. They have an initial questionnaire. It'll be attached to that. And in the body of the document, it'll just be, maybe by when I want it. I could even get more specific depending upon who you're communicating with. And in the subject line, put the date that I actually want that action taken by. Now that's getting very efficient, but it depends on what your relationship is with your clients or your customers or whomever that you are communicating with. So action requested is the first one. RR, so response requested, is that you're actually expecting a response. So you want to set it up with people that they don't need to send you an email if it's thanks, I got it, or good, or okay, because if you look at that during the day, that adds up to a number of minutes of extra time that they've had to do something that's distracting from maybe working on what they need to do, and plus you get yet again another email into your inbox that really has no value. So response requested, and again, subject line reflecting what the response is. If you want it by a certain date, content of the email to be really clear, one particular topic, none of that changes. And then once you have established that protocol, you can go RR, which is response requested. So you've got AR, RR, and the last one is FYI. And FYI means that you're just sending it to them for their information. They don't need to acknowledge back. You just want to pass that information on to them. You're not expecting an acknowledgement, a response, an action, nothing. So you won't be following up and saying to them, did you get that such and such I sent you? Because in fact, if you wanted a response back, you would have put RR. So AR, action requested, RR, response requested, and FYI for your information. And it's strictly just your information, and you do not need a response back. So again, this is a really easy, simple way to educate those people that you're communicating a lot with to eliminate the number of emails and to become much clearer on the email interaction back and forth. So hopefully that tip was an immediate productivity tip you can put in place for yourself. So the second one is People are always trying to say, you know, I have this long list of things to do. I never seem to get much done. Well, I use a formula called, or a process called, time budgeting. And I'm not going to go into that today because another episode, a previous episode I did, so you can go on and search time budgeting. But I want to just share with you the concept behind it. And that is that you really take a look at those major projects during your week. So you've got personal, you may have family, you have work, you may have a volunteer organization, for an example. You know, chances are most people have no more than 5 and probably at a minimum 3 of what I'm going to call their large projects. And I really want you to look at those and make sure that you've got everything sort of captured in those. If you have more than 5, if you say, you know, I actually have more than 5, then what I'm going to suggest is one of the reasons why you are struggling with productivity is maybe you've said yes to too many things. And that's a whole other subject into itself, is learning how to say no and having to be able to say, yes, not right now, which is really, you know, acknowledge them, thanking them for asking you. Let's face it, sometimes it's our ego that gets stroked and has us say yes. So I really want you to be discerning about that. But anyway, I digress. So back to time budgeting. So you've identified your top projects, your 3 to 5 projects. Then what I want you to do is I want you to look at your work week and your personal life, because we're including personal in here as well, and say to yourself, so let's say you have a commitment to health and fitness, and one of the things is you like to go for long runs, for an example, and each time you go for a run it's a minimum of an hour, and then you've got shower time and you've got stretching time. So let's say it's a 2-hour block and you'd like to do that 4 times a week. Well, 2 times 4, that's 8 hours. So you're going to put 8 hours by your personal. Now you might also have some time that you want to spend with friends, and so you might put sort of friends under personal as well. And let's say you meet for lunch, or you go do some function or event or something like that with them. So let's say that's another 5 hours a week. So you're going to put 5 by there. And let's say you are a budding artist and you want to, like I am, so you want to set aside time to be able to paint. And let's say that is a good 10 hours a week. So you're going to add that up. So you've got 10 and 5 and 8, 23 hours in a week. So you're going to capture that over on the side. And then you're going to do the same thing for work, and you're going to do the same thing for family, and any other volunteer or other organization or other work that you do outside of personal and family and work time. And then what you're going to do is you're going to look at your week, and you're going to say, okay, when are these times going to get blocked in? So you're going to actually start blocking in time. And what that'll also help you do is start blocking things together. So rather than doing random errands during the day, which break things up, you might start batching things together. So this time concept does a couple of things. One of them is we all have a relationship with time, and we either think there's never enough time, or we think there's an abundance of time. So it's usually, I mean, those are the extremes, but somewhere along that scale is where we land. And being aware of what our relationship with time is really important, because if you recognize that your relationship with time is that there's your scarcity, that you never think there's going to be enough time, well, then let's check that. Let's test that. And then the way we do that is by looking at this time budget, plugging in all the things you need to do, and see whether in fact you're accurate, that your day is very full and there's not a lot of extra time, or you might find, oh, in fact, there's lots of time, but it's just from this perspective you have around time that you see there as being a scarcity. I did this recently with a client of mine, and in fact, she said, you know, I realized that my days are pretty full, and that's the way they're going to be right now. And so there was something about her accepting that as well, versus being panicked about it or stressed about it, just knowing that in this moment, given what she's got on her plate, and given some goals that she set, that time is going to be full. So this process helps you kind of lay it out during the week. So then, for an example, if there's things that you say, I never get around to calling my past clients, for example, let's say that's one thing that you decide that is important for you to do, and that's part of your work time, your business time. Well, if you actually schedule it into your calendar, you have a 75% greater chance of getting it done. 75%. Wow. Versus a long to-do list. If you actually put it into a time that you've budgeted for during the week to be calling your past clients, then there's a 75% greater chance. Because what happens is that if someone then phones you and says, I'd like to meet you at such and such a time, you can look, and then you've got that opportunity that you have to discern. You know, if you're always if you're always putting aside the things that you know are important in your business but not urgent because a client necessarily maybe wants to meet you, then you may be chasing the money too much and you're not spending time on the things that are really important. So this is where all of this learning becomes really important for you to understand how you operate and then to put some structure in place that's going to support you performing at your highest and best. So I really recommend that you go to my episode on time budgeting to learn a little more detail on that. But on the bigger picture, this is about really breaking down your week into those most important tasks that you have and be able to batch those together, put them into blocks during your week, so then you can actually be much more productive in control of your time. So that was the second tip I was going to give you today. So the third one is I find people sometimes say that to-do list is too long. So this kind of relates to number 2, and that there's just this endless list of to-dos. Well, what I really want you to do is start thinking from a different perspective. Is I want you to focus on 2 or 3 short-term goals, and that's it. 2 or 3 short-term goals. And those short-term goals should actually be supporting your long-term goals. So there's no conflict there. So in fact, anything else you're doing that doesn't relate to those 2 or 3 goals really raises the question why they're on your to-do list anyway. Now, yes, you have the day-to-day operations of your business, and some of the things we've talked about already today are going to help you be more efficient about that. But really what I want you to take a look at is those 2 or 3 goals, those goals that you're absolutely committed to working on in the next, let's say, 12 weeks. Really, really focused on that. Then from there, you're going to say, okay, now what are going to be the strategies for me to achieve those goals? So you're going to break down those goals that you've set for yourself, and what are going to be the strategies that you are going to employ in order to move forward. And then those strategies, you're going to break those down yet to another level, and that's going to be, what are my action steps? You can't do a strategy because it's made up a lot of action steps. So what are my specific action steps? What do I absolutely need to do? And then that's going to give you your list of action items that actually you're going to put into that calendar of yours, because you know now 75% of what's in your calendar has a greater chance of it getting accomplished. So this really distilling it down into those most important things, I like to say those things that are actually going to move the needle in your business. And accepting that sometimes there are things that you'd like to do, that you would love to do, but the fact of the matter is right now, they're not going to get done, and that's okay. You're going to park those later for a down the road initiative. What we really want to focus on is being clear what you need to be working on right now, because this is what's most important. And I noticed over and over and over again, the people who get the most done, who are the most productive, who are the most successful, can kind of separate themselves from all of this other peripheral stuff that's going on and really identify what are the most important things for them to be working on at any given time. And how you do that is get really clear on those goals, really clear on those 2, 3 maximum short-term goals. What are the strategies you're going to employ to reach them, and what are those action steps that you're going to use every single day, and then capture those into your calendar and then stick to it. If this is a new way of you doing things, it's going to require you doing this for a while to develop that habit. But I guarantee you, if productivity is something that you struggle with, and you want to become even more efficient than you maybe already are, then I really recommend that you use these 3 strategies I've talked about today. So to recap, email protocol, reduce the amount of emails, reduce the length of emails. Remember, short one particular item emails, that's what you want to do. Make sure your subject line is correct, ARRR and FYI. The next one is you want to really look at what is your time budget? You know, how are you spending your time? Figure out what your relationship with time really is. Get those things chunked down and batch them. Make sure that you've set aside times in your week that you're going to do them. And this is your ideal week, of course. And but what it lets you do, if for any reason something gets thwarted and the time you were going to do something during that week changes because you've got something that happens, then you can say, okay, then when do I need to get that done? And then put that into your calendar. So it gives you that ability to move things around, but still be really clear what you have to be working on. And the last thing is, let's reduce that action list that you've got. Let's focus on what are those short-term goals, what are the strategies, and what are the action steps. And I guarantee you, you start this week, it's Monday morning, bright and early. If you employ those this week, you will have a much more productive and a week that you can do what you're meant to do in the world, which is go out and affect change in people, whatever that might be through your products or services. So everyone, that's the end of today's episode. Short and sweet. until we talk next week, please have an inspired week and go out and be much more productive this week. Take care, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.